It's really interesting, having seen the many media presentations, the slides, the videos and so forth, how many, considering people don't get together to discuss this before we all get up on stage, how many people have actually looked at elements of this Economist piece from a couple of years ago? In particular, really focusing on the 5 themes which are core to our 2015 vision. And there are 4 of them which really grab my mind, but the one that grabs my heart and the one that has been spoken of a few times today is that about the people. Why? Well, I'm a marketer, and my job is to market product, and our product is people. And the whole sort of mixture of people, culture and brand is almost indistinguishable within the Deloitte mix. And the fact that we value our people at the apex of the pyramid, as we put it, is extraordinary for a professional services firm. And when Guillaume coined the phrase fun culture with serious intent, it really sort of had the ring to me of the strategy for great brands and great advertising. I think it was David Ogilvy, the advertising guru, who coined the phrase smile in the mind. And he was talking about advertising that really has that hidden meaning, that little flash of recognition that gets you to extrapolate and project your experience beyond the product and actually identify with the brand because you've already established a relationship with it through humor. And that's really interesting. So some of this iconic advertising from the 60s, which was the first evidence of Volkswagen really showing that it didn't have to take itself too seriously. And there's this thing about brands where it's easier to warm up a brand than it is to cool it down. And what I mean by that is, if you're a brand that is absolutely irreverent and is unashamedly flippant, doesn't take itself seriously, it's going to be very difficult to then sober up and get yourself taken seriously. But if you're a brand which is already hallmarked with sobriety and the global think tank, and you're respected and solid, if you start infusing your brand with humor at that point and having fun with it, you're going to enhance your credibility immeasurably because you're going to connect even more strongly. So this is my favorite all-time ad. I'm not sure if you've ever seen it. It is really my favorite all-time print ad. I never read The Economist. Management trainee, aged 42. Yeah? It's sort of like what Guillaume was talking about, the partners who were disconnected this morning. And brands like Apple, which weave this vibrance and energy and irreverence and humor into all forms of brand communication, they're really on the right track because they're making that continual connection with people. Now, going further, if you look at the way some brands actually use elements of their visual identity, like their core visual identity, their logo, and they get people to actually co-opt it almost as an act of self-expression, as a status symbol. And so they start wearing the brand, we got a freeze here again, and start wearing the brand out of the context of the actual product. So you see Nike being used way beyond sporting contexts, and Apple used way beyond the school or the office. People like to wear these brands because it says something about them. It has some sort of resonance with who they are. And, smart brands do this on a continual basis. So this idea that when your brand actually starts becoming an act of self-expression is very important for the marketer. Because if you can get a bunch of people who want to wear your brand, you're obviously getting your people to do your marketing for you. Your audience is engaged in the act of promotion and of being proud, almost tribe members of your brand, even if they don't belong to it. So what we're going to talk about briefly now is a campaign that we've got. And we're talking about our best loved brand element. Everyone knows what I'm talking about, of course. Hello, old friend. Yeah? People love our dot. It's a very simple, warm, welcoming symbol. So much so that when we actually, under pressure from the Dot Liberation League a couple of years ago, unleashed the dot and put it on black and went further and started actually using it as a metaphor for a provocative singular thought in our advertising, People loved it. You know, to take a sharp left turn from all the conventional advertising we'd been doing up until that point and put to our people in an open vote across Australia, do you like the idea of using this sort of advertising to represent our brand? The result we got, over 97% of people saying unequivocally, I love it. You know, that is unprecedented and extraordinary in my experience in terms of advertising and brand, because people take brand very personally. They want to see that what's being expressed is very much an extension of them. So we launched this campaign in Australia. We were the outliers. It was very quickly adopted around the world, in London, in the US and elsewhere. And we continue to take the lead with this most recent expression of our brand in the airports here, a home-invented brand in Australia, which has generated probably more interest here in Australia than any previous ad, and indeed has been once again adopted internationally. When we actually asked a couple of years ago for people to play with our brand, and you know, we originally talked, Pete Williams, Gim and myself, around the idea of how do we get people to engage in social media, and what could we do to push up the numbers of Yammer users. So we used Yammer as a tool for actually generating creative content, because people obviously wanted to contribute to the brand. And the result was we generated an extraordinary number of creative ideas, 3,000 hits per week on the videos of the work that we were demonstrating, over 1,000 original ad concepts, and over 3,000 headlines for an idea which had been almost crowdsourced and resulted in the work of this the world's largest creative team at work, if you like, the collective minds of 5,000 people crowdsourcing an advertisement for the first time. That's pretty smart. You know, that's pretty interesting the way it happens. But what it tells us is that people love participating, especially in a professional services context. People want to feel heard. They want their ideas to be used. And we've known that for some time. For several years, we've been using forms of our brand in apparel, in merchandise, in ways that people want to use. So this advertisement from 7 years ago was the first foray we made into this space. We produced our values through our signals and cufflinks, which were incredibly popular. This alternative business card concept has been probably the most fervent and popular topic on Yammer for several months. Endless discussions about what the new business card should be, because people care deeply about their brand. And when we produced this green dot set of cufflinks, they were oversubscribed within hours. So much so that we continue to produce, you know, wacky, whimsical, but also very practical at times expressions of our brand. Now, recently I was asked by Marketing Magazine in Australia to critique a number of campaigns, and I obviously stay generally within professional services, but this was all about a set of fast-moving consumer good products. And I was asked, along with the head of two other we should get a pair of green dot stockings on that young lady. Please take a note of that. When we actually looked at all the campaigns, there were beers, there were laundry powders, and it was interesting. But the one that really caught my interest was this one called Lucky Undies. It was by Solo, the can of soft drink. And you know, the whole premise was during the World Cup last year, the Socceroos, you had to put on a pair of Lucky Undies while the Socceroos were playing, and it would bring them luck. So the idea was, undies on, game on, yeah? And it was sort of coarse, irreverent. I would guess that this is a brand that's not going to move into advising on cross-border investment in a hurry. This is not a brand seeking to cool itself down. But it was very smart. It was an integrated offline, online, above the line, below the line campaign. And even had sort of interactive elements where people were going around Australia distributing these things. Now, at the end of all this, it was sort of interesting to see the core idea that I guess I played back was that it used this interesting premise that if you can get people inside the brand, you can get the brand inside the people. You know, and that's smart. You know, if you can get people inside the brand, you get the brand inside the people. So get people to wear your brand. So we've had an idea. It's a slightly provocative idea, and that's to put our people in green dot t-shirts in a massive way. 5,000 people in green dot t-shirts using the best of our advertising, which is probably the most popular professional services advertising campaign in Australia. And this is not about promoting Deloitte overtly. This is a non-sell sell. We're going to take the Deloitte brand off. We're going to take the Deloitte logo off the t-shirts and have the confidence of just using our dot as shorthand for the brand. For people who don't like the 24 designs that we're suggesting initially, we're going to give people the opportunity to design their own brands, and over a campaign starting next week and laddering right up until the end of the year, we have a process of people choosing their designs, voting for them, designing their own, eventually shortlisting down to the 10, ordering their t-shirts and being delivered in time for the summer holidays to do the biggest guerrilla campaign of branding in our history. The strategy is to make t-shirt choice more than just an aesthetic decision. This isn't just about, I like this design the best. This is actually about making it an act of self-analysis. What's your design?
What does this image say to you?
Is this something to do with cloud computing?
The dot is hiding, stealth-like, ready to pounce.
We have to look at the proportion of the dot that's hidden by the cloud.
Well, for some, a dark, moody, brooding, possibly antisocial response, but perhaps for others, an emerging, well-resolved Oedipus or Electra complex.
We should also look at the trajectory of the cloud and its rate of disbursement to determine when it's going to be completely visible.
The green dot's behind the cloud.
And what does this image say to you?
Is it a pen or a needle? Either way, I guess it's about finding that perfect fit.
Awesome. Totes sharp. Very cool.
We really shouldn't allow sharp things in the office.
Precision, accuracy. If you get it wrong, you might bleed.
A painful past, possibly full of unresolved guilt.
It's a pin in a t-shirt.
And what does this image say to you?
Networking.
Cocktails.
Drinking, risk, liability, exposure.
Alcohol acts as a disinhibitor and frees the subconscious.
Harassment, brand damage.
It's a drink. Okay, it's a martini.
Litigation, PI claims.
And this last one?
Come on, this one's obvious.
Space Invaders. I love those games from the 80s. They're so retro.
The dot on the outside has the other dot right where he needs him, contained, pinned in the corner.
The dot is in, the dot is out. In, out, shake it all about.
I really like to put rules around things.
So you're going to see videos like that. You're going to see, oops, going backwards. Someone said that about my life. Can I just advance forward? You're going to see lots of different designs over the next few weeks being proposed. Some are quite out there, some are very understandable, and every one of them sort of says something about the chooser and the wearer. I love this one of the earphones. It's just very smart. But the key to this campaign, once again, harking back to what has been said over and over today and yesterday, is the value of this to our culture. And to that end, you know, we're using some of our foundation partners to get behind it. Guide Dogs Australia are going to be collaborating with us on this campaign. You're going to see chalkboards around the office for free-form creative expression. You're going to see green dot jumpsuits. You're going to see all sorts of wacky, fun things. But this is not just about a wacky campaign. This is about, once again, shared identity, common interpretation, and directional intensity. And to that end, engagement begins with us as the partners. You know, we talk about connectivity and the importance of communication and the fact that we set the example for the rest of the firm. Once again, if we say, oh, this is a fun campaign, it's not really got to do much to do with me, you're missing the point. Those as one numbers are driven by engagement and by the idea of the tribe. People love our brand and want to be part of it, but they don't want to be part of it if it's not seen to be supported. So make your choice public, make a deal about this, get your team to vote for the t-shirts that they like, and share the stories, because we're going to be running some campaigns around, why choice was made. We're going to be producing several videos along those lines, making it an act of self-analysis. What does the choice of the design say about you? And that's fun. You can help build the buzz to that effect. And start thinking now, what's your Deloitte? Thank you.